All right.
people.
We should be live. I pressed the button. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if it was
Yeah, it should
enough
be
of a
live.
press.
Yeah.
Let me check my
Yes,
channel.
it's here. It's
Yeah,
here.
I'm gonna
Have you?
share. I'm gonna share the links. But yeah, Bobby, what we were talking about before we went live. You asked me whether or not when those FBI guys killed that elderly 300-pound boomer because he wrote something, you know,
He
slightly.
wrote like, just not even. I mean, it's actually not against the law to write it that way. Like because you don't specify the time, location, all that. It's not targeted.
Yeah, it's specifically what is it? The court case is Brandenburg v. Ohio, which was a case between a Klansman and the state of Ohio. The Klansman was on a rally saying, typical Chuck and Sneedery, but it was a question of is violent speech protected under the First Amendment, and what is it? And my answer to that is all speech is protected under the First Amendment, including violent speech. There's a difference between violent speech and inciting. Inciting is specifically attempting to get people to perform an action. But violent speech is just violent speech, and so the Brandenburg, it's called the Brandenburg test, and it kind of builds off of Skank v. U.S., which was an earlier case in the 1900s. That's where you get the phrase "clear and present danger" from, shouting fire in a crowded movie theater, whatever, which is fucking stupid.
But even like in today's world, shouting fire in a crowded theater will not get you in prison unless someone gets hurt, and then they can use that as evidence.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was not actionable. All like you know, he was speaking very vaguely. He's like, "Oh, if the FBI comes on my land, then," but apparently the dude when he was a kid and he lived right next door to Randy Weaver of
Randy Weaver is Wacko
Ruby
or
Ridge.
Ruby Ridge, yeah.
Yeah, so this dude who the FBI killed, apparently he was like childhood best friends with Randy Weaver's son that the FBI or that the ATF rather just fucking murked.
That's
Um,
crazy. Yeah, they had a sniper that shot him while he was in his mother's hands, right?
well, it shot the woman. I don't know if they killed the baby, but shot a woman holding a baby. You know,
Yeah.
it's like and so it's like you have to understand, Bobby, is that the people who are in you know the the people who are in law enforcement, particularly at that level, they don't really have an ideology. Their ideology is power, right? And anyone who kind of attempts to threaten that or something like that, like for example, this boomer making stupid Facebook posts under his real name and face. I saw this fucking that was the Virgin Zoomers in Minecraft.
Yeah, yeah,
Chad
yeah,
Chad boomers under their
yeah.
real
Just some
name.
hide, some hide in his wrestling days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hassan. Oh, you know it, lad. The Hassan Piker. I'm coming to kill you.
At his house. It's true. Well, yeah, and but anyway, like these people are they're just I don't know what the right way to say it is, Bobby. They're just a group of feds. That's what they are, and they only really understand power, and they only really serve power. If there was an administrative change, police departments keep like 80% of personnel during administrative changes. Bobby?
Ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. Like I'm here, I'm just listening to it. It's so stupid too. Like even, you know, I mean, this stuff does happen in Russia sometimes, but no one's really like stupid enough to do that. And I don't think I've ever heard about like the police coming to kill people because they like threaten Putin. I mean, I'm like on Facebook, like I'm sure you know, police would come to your house and they would probably shoot you, but like I don't know about Italy too. Like I haven't heard that, but yeah, I think it's that people in America think that they're freer than they actually are. It's spooky. I mean, I think they broke into his house and he like took a gun and they're like, oh fuck, he's got a gun! He's got a gun! We gotta like, and it's the whole team just opens fire on him, firing
Yeah,
him,
it's like
turns him into ground beef. You
it's like
know,
he has no idea what the fuck is going on. They didn't serve a. There's a reason that you need a warrant. All right, look. Here's the thing, Bobby. Right? You know, People talk about the Constitution of the United States, and they like to try to wipe their ass with it and shit all over it. But no, the Constitution of the United States was set up meant to prevent this from happening. You know.
yeah, but no one cares about a piece of paper. You know.
Well, yeah, because you're a Russian, and
Yeah.
that may be the case for Russians. Anglos, on the other hand.
Yeah, you know, you're right. I think you're right. No, I mean, of course, like written law is, and just written language in general is important in Russia. But I mean, like, look at today. Today, constitution is you use it as an argument. You use it as these little like mind attacks. You know, when you're talking and then you have an argument, and you put that argument out there, and it like attacks, it chomps your opponent's speech, and he like stops, and you're like, you know, this little piece, little fragment of mind cum has just penetrated my brain uterus, you know, and is making babies in it, and like you know, I'm forming a dialogue or whatever, but
Yeah.
you're not really looking at the constitution. You're like, well, this is already an argument. No, only when someone tells you that. And at this point, you've got all the spirals and the what are they called? Like in IUTs, or right, intrauterus fucking preventions for like for the baby, right? You got little plastic things that protect your canals because you just say that like, oh well, you're talking about the Second Amendment, right? But what about the children,
No,
huh?
I'm
Who
talking.
are
I'm talking about. I think I'm trying to remember what amendment it was. Basically, I'm talking about the amendment that says that the feds can't just send like people to your house without,
yeah, but
obtaining a
I'm
warrant.
the way that people interpret the Constitution today, or the way that people interpret the law, really.
That's not the Constitution's fault. I try to say this to people. I'm like, wow, bad power hungry
You're
people
correct.
in bad power hungry people interpret it in the way that they wanted to interpret it to make it do their bad power hungry things. Like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's correct, but it is people interpret the written language today in a different way. And you know, because really, if let's say you're in a town, you got a robber that breaks in and you shoot him, uh if kind of the best way for the law to act in that way isn't to fucking put you in jail and then make you spend like a year fighting the court case with $5,000 or $50,000 on lawyers, you know, stop your whole life because that's already punishing you. You know, if a sheriff comes into your house or the deputy comes into your house, takes one look at the intruder and says, "Oh yeah, that's a cringe McChuck from 2 towns over who has been seen raping a horse 5 days a week for the past 2 years. You're off the hook, buddy. We're gonna drag him off to the coyotes." You know, and there's the coyote behind the door, and he's like, "Please give me the flesh of that sinner." Right? And
Russians really are frontier Americans. Russians and
in
frontier Americans are the exact
in this case,
same.
did you understand that this is kind of like this is how the law was set up? Because anything otherwise, where they're like, well, you know, Chuck McSneeder right here, who is like really, really evil and has like the evil physiognomy. He's got the little like twirly mustaches, you know, and a hunchback and 5,000 pistols under his belt. And he's like, everyone knows he's evil. like, and you killed him. Oh, you can't do that. You can't fucking shoot him. And now we're going to punish you. We're going to punish you by making you do the work that you're not made to do. We're going to put you in jail. We're going to put a bunch of people. We're going to fucking, give it to the news. And then the news are going to say, oh no, he killed my boy. He killed my boy, Chuck McSnee. He was a good boy. He didn't do nothing. He was just walking around, raping here, raping there. He walks into a room, breaks into a house, didn't do nothing. He was just there to, I don't know, to pick up some fucking cupcakes, right? And you shot him! Oh! And then everyone around you just loses their fucking marbles. They just go nuts. And then you spend the whole year or 2 years dealing with this shit. And then by the end of the time, who's getting punished here? I mean, you basically spend a year in prison. And it's even worse because in prison, I guess it's like hustle time for you. You do some gym. You talk with other pimps and hustlers. It's no wife, no children, 100% focus on making money. Making that ramen, stealing those cigarettes, fighting those hookers or whatever.
Oh, Bobby, right? Bobby.
Or doing drugs, all of that stuff. You don't do it. You don't do it. You sit there, you study law, you talk to your lawyers, and your lawyers tell you, maybe it's good that you go and you tell them you're guilty. What's gonna happen? You're gonna get 2 years in prison, because you shot a guy who tried to rape you, right? Come on. And this is how it fucking happens, and it's stupid. It's as if law was made 500 years ago, and whatever's happening now is just it's just the government just wants you, like Craig Boomerson, right? They just want to open the door, walk in, shoot you, piss on your corpse, get out, write an article, right? And then go back to their cushy job. And then keep searching, keep posting on child porn on Facebook, or keep trying to honeypot people, or keep trying to I don't know, incite terrorist plots. I don't know why. Maybe they need more money. Maybe they like you said, power. But it's ridiculous, right? Isn't it? And it's this way everywhere. This way in Russia, it's this way in Italy, it's this way in Switzerland. Whatever, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you go. It's just it's shit. It's a complete collapse. What the fuck? Why is it in America? Why is it in the country that kind of at some point really did have a really, really fantastic court system? I mean, even to this day, I think civil cases are pretty fairly judged. And if you're in prison, you can have, I think it's called what is it, marital visits, where you can have sex with your
conjugal
wife.
visits.
Conjugal visits, exactly. Because man, that's pretty unthinkable in the past. In the past, you would get executed or thrown into prison or whatever, and now it's just some people are just getting let out on bail. And then you have these cases where a whole team wakes up in the morning, gets up, wears SWAT uniform, gets guns, puts on a helmet, gets an armored truck. And I mean, they know this guy. I mean, they can probably look him up on videos. They can go and ask his neighbors. They can probably look through his camera on his phone. They can spy on him. They know he's a 300-pound boomer that just sits there and writes bullshit on Facebook. But no, they wake up in the morning and they go and they shoot him. Come on. That's stupid. That's comedy time. At Kalambur. No,
I mean,
every day. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm kind of done.
No, Bobby, this is great. This is great because
Yeah.
I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, it's just the thing is we don't have law and order, Bobby. There is no. It is as simple as we simply do not have law. The law is not enforced as it should be. In the conflict between law and power wins every rather, in the conflict between justice and power wins every single time. As long as the state is doing it, and it's
yeah, it's when there was the COVID thing, Italians would like go out to protest, and within 15 minutes, people would show up with grenade launchers and would just tear gas them to shit. You shoot them with rubber bullets. They would beat them up like nothing, nothing, and then they would have like a little blurb in the newspapers. Oh, protest suppressed, like police called, fucking grenade launchers. Like, what the fuck? It's and then everything we see tells us the opposite. Tells us that like, oh, we gotta protest. Oh, we gotta like do this. Oh, you gotta write to your representatives. But it's and I don't know. Has this always been like this? Like, did people in the
No.
past? No.
It's not always.
Like,
well, there's similar circumstances, Bobby. There's similar, for example, I guess, that you could take the Soviet Union. It's almost like the absolute insanity that was living under the Soviet Union is starting to spill out into the rest of the world, including the United States. There was also there's also pre-revolution France, which was very similar to where we are now. You've got a group of degenerate aristocrats, titled or not, and they're jackbooted thugs, and specifically humiliating the undercastes, not just like extorting them, but like specifically like like going out of their way to humiliate you while doing it, Bobby. Like
well,
that's
at least in the Soviet Union, you could just pay the policeman, and that's it. Like, it ends. You don't have to go.
Not in Stalin times, I don't think, because
maybe you're right, but I like from basically the end of the World War II and up to maybe 2010, something like that, because like even in the early 2000s, my faraway cousin in Ukraine, like, who is the son of my grandma's aunt or something, he was a junkie, and he broke into like an apartment and stole a bunch of stuff, and they wanted to put him in prison for a long time. What the aunt did is she sold her apartment and brought $20,000 to the judge, and he was let go. This was like early 2000s, pretty much. So, and in a way, I think this is kind of, as crazy as that sounds, I think most of the time this system kind of is better, because if you're innocent, you can just you could say fuck it. You can be like in John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath, when like the men like look, they furrow their brows and they spit at the earth, right? They're like, fuck it, like, whatever, like, I'll do it, and then like, you're free. But like right now you're getting tortured, right? And I mean, if you're a normal person and you go to prison, like the what's his name, the Russian, come on, the Oleg Ranch, the firearms guy. What's his name? Do you remember?
No,
there was a YouTube channel with the guy who did like the Russian accent.
Oh, FPS Russia.
FPS Russia, exactly. Well, like, FPS Russia got put in prison, or is it jail, but whatever. He was with hardened criminals there because they found a bottle with CBD, like, in his mail. Well, in reality, it wasn't because of that. It was because the there's an American explosive that's trademarked. I forgot what it's called, but they sent him a few truckfuls to do like videos with it, basically, and he had a fuck ton of weapons, and all of that got confiscated.
Well, yeah, but it's the whole point of this, Bobby, is that a tyrannical state like the kind we have now cannot abide any freestanding power structures outside of it. And like someone like FPS Russia is someone who is very heavily equipped. A lot of maintaining law and order, Bobby, or at least not, I don't know if it's so much law and order. Rather, I think it's more of the monopoly on violence that then allows this group of people to continue. The quote-unquote rich men north of Richmond, if you saw that on Twitter, Bobby. Unfortunately, Did you see that country singer,
Yeah.
that song "Rich Men North of Richmond"?
Yep, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. He was, unfortunately though, Bobby. He was singing about me. He was singing about I am the bad people. He's singing about. No, I'm being facetious. But the thing about it is, Bobby, is that the U.S. Department of Defense and really the post New Deal managerial in the United States is one of the largest piles of money in human history. Like every single billionaire, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all that, were created by defense money. They were not successful on their own. The defense establishment simply approved them and then started funneling infinite money to them. Like this is how it happens, Bobby. And so it's like if they control that, then they have no out freestanding power structures outside of them. This is why in the 90s, Waco, Ruby Ridge, the Bundys, I'm trying to think, this is why, or like the militia movement, all that, this is why they were all cracked down on so hard, because part of maintaining this monopoly on violence is maintaining the illusion that you cannot resist them. Maintaining the illusion that, citizens cannot. This is why I think things like oh, you think your AR-15 can stop a tank? I think it gets boosted by the algorithm, because what is Anglo intelligence good at? It's good at psyops. All right. And
Yeah, but it's also true that people are just not going to use their AR-15s.
well, yeah, and it's like they're trying to essentially they've realized that the Second Amendment is so well protected within U.S. law that they can't really, like, California's like bans on things got lifted. And so they're just essentially trying to make it functionally obsolete. It's like, oh yeah, you can have your guns, but like they won't do you any good because we're just going to use nukes on you, on our own people. And that's like, it's like people don't even have the word for this, but like people in the United States need to understand that they're under foreign occupation. And you say it's not just like this in the United States. You're right. But the United States is the world hegemon, and the insanity here seeps out into everywhere else. And that is because the United States is so culturally influential, is so militarily influential.
Like Palantir stuff, like all the Oracle type technology that predicts where you'll go and what you'll buy. It is so powerful now that I think any digital rebellion will definitely fail, because they'll just arrest people like whenever they're out for like Starbucks or whatever. Or maybe they'll like block their banks, or maybe they'll change like the bus routines, that day.
I mean,
But like we know now that they're weak in analog. Like they cannot go into analog. They don't know what to do with it. It's like it's how the truckers organized for like Canada. Even though they lost, the important lesson is the ham radios. But maybe it's more even than the ham radio. It's just that people that were born during the technological boom are so incorporated with the government system that it's difficult for them to get out of it.
yeah.
They're like traced everywhere, and so maybe it's only the next generation that will have the technologies kept away from them. Like I bet Radlib probably doesn't give iPhones to his 12 kids.
I mean, he at the very least restricts their internet usage, but from how I understand, at least the older ones are able to use it more or less freely, but then you can trust them. But yeah, Bobby, you're right. I mean, and I think you're right on that. Like, you're right to believe, yeah, the trend is that kids are going to start being raised without technology, because those like myself, like yourself probably were were raised with too much technology. We're like, this has had a negative impact on us.
I will absolutely not give any smartphones to my child.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Or
At the
I don't know. Maybe I like, I do like video games. And maybe what Sargon said is that they have like one day a week together. It's used as a treat for both of them, and maybe but it has had a profoundly negative impact on me.
Absolutely. And this is why I tell people, it's like, look, Gen Z, we are not it. Gen Z is not going to be the generation of destiny. All right. We're just too small numerically, and we're too fucked up by technology. However, on the flip side of that, Gen Z will be the sort of elder statesman when the generation of destiny does come along, which is going to be Gen Alpha. It's going to be the millennials kids. They're going to be the generation of destiny. And this is if you believe in Strauss Howe. But Zoomers are kind of preparing the way. Zoomers are the Bilbo Baggins to the Gen Alpha's Frodo Baggins, Bobby, if you believe that. We're the ones who are going to have to go out and do something first. And...
Are you going to homeschool your child?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Does Radlib homeschool?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh shit! You're gonna homeschool your child together with all of his children.
No, I mean that's not really feasible because they live quite a while away.
America's big. I forgot. Oh.
Yeah. That's like saying, Bobby, that like me living in Tula will have my friend in Novosibirsk. We'll homeschool our children together.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think there is like a homeschool community here in Italy. So when I have children, I will definitely. I mean, I'm not going to let them go through public school because it's bad physically, it's bad psychologically for them. It's just,
of course.
You're there with mutants. You're forced to sit for 6 hours on your ass with mutants, evil women, and like just insane propaganda that gets pumped into you. And especially for boys, it sucks because women actually like school today. You know, so they do well, but men really don't. And I mean, that's obvious.
All right, Bobby, we've been talking for 30 minutes. You want to get started?
It's good. It's a good start. Let's go. We're going to play Sneed and Chuckering of my boy, John Milton. Go.
All right.
The Revolt. Der Revolt.
At dawn. For years now, Anizote has been simmering like a cookpot over a slow flame. They use this metaphor too many times. The powerlessness of the simple folk, unable to change the old order, has gradually given way to rage. Finally, this anger became stronger than their age-old submission to the higher estate and their fear of divine retribution. This rage was the spark that lit the fire of the revolt. All of Anizote's commoners have risen up in rebellion. Workers, artisans, merchants, beggars. They all long to break free of noble tyranny and the perpetual suffering that is their lot. The most daring among them have joined the last straw. The secret society has sent entire squads of trained soldiers out into the streets. They hand out guns and bombs to the people, weapons that give them a chance to wage war on equal footing against the noblemen descended from generations of warriors. But the most dangerous weapon the rebels possess is the People's Court. The commoners have claimed the right to sentence their enemies to true death. The first nobles executed by the last straw this very night served as proof that these sentences are real. For the first time in the history of the Empire, the divine force of law is in possession not only of the noblemen, but also of the common estate. Among the rebels are many new believers. They are ready to take up arms to defend their faith and freedom from the lots. They are led by Leonard, the abbot of the temple by the silver tree. Prefect El Borne's allegiance remains unknown. The supreme judge has taken such pains to give the lowly estate more rights. Will he support a revolt that strives to do the same? Anizote has recently been rocked by a series of spontaneous assemblies and protests. The mob demands equal rights for all estates and freedom from the tyranny of the nobles. The authorities must recognize the new faith and grant the commoners the right to choose their lot. By nightfall, the rebels had disposed of the guards and taken over the city gate. In a matter of minutes, Anizote was under their control. It is the duty of Overseer Gaius Tempest to crush the revolt. The Archnean nobleman feared for his own position and power, so he was reluctant to punish the rebellious city as discontent slowly grew year by year. But the ensuing uprising has left him no choice. The Overseer has announced a full-scale mobilization. In the morning, The Legion will march toward Anizate under his command and attempt to return the city to Imperial authority with fire and sword. The expeditious arrival of the Legion is the only hope the nobles have left now that they are locked inside the city. Members of the higher estate, especially the old aristocratic families, fear the coming rampage and strive to keep order on the streets. Meanwhile, the Inquisition led by Sister Jeanne is trying to stop the new believers and urging the people to reject the revolt. Both groups are aware that if the rest of the province follows Anizate into rebellion and chaos, the empire itself and the divine order will begin to crumble. After nightfall, the city grows quiet. Its courtyards and squares are empty. In mansions and palaces, hasty negotiations are held and schemes are concocted. In dark cellars, the revolt is being prepared and armed units are gathering. Parishes are getting ready to defend the temples of the new faith against the Inquisition. All citizens, rich and poor, common and noble, are arming themselves, some with ancestral swords, others with cleavers. Anizate is preparing, waiting for the dawn. As the Legion arrives for the assault, the rebels assemble into a militia and get ready to fend off the Imperial army, but there is little unity in their camp. Their leaders are already mired in a power struggle. There are also defenders of the Imperial order within the city walls, members of the old aristocracy, soldiers of the Inquisition, priests of the old faith, commoners unwilling to defy the law and the twins' design. These people too refuse to lay down their arms. The first rays of the rising sun light up the horizon. This day will go down in history. Your entire life has led you to this moment. Step by step, you have made yourself the man you are now. Your actions today could alter the course of history, but are you ready to go the distance? What will have become of you by the time the sun sets? Alright, the revolt's at a stalemate.
Yep.
Alright, Bobby.
We gotta not die.
There's a lot of things that could happen to us. We chose the path of the rebel.
Yep. Time to make their day.
Alright. The family's fate. The first rays of the morning sun reach the windows of your family home. It would be so easy to forget about the impending revolt here within these old familiar walls. But the calm before the storm will soon be over, and yesterday's turmoil will return. There are only a handful of hours left. The Brantes have to decide what to do. Should the family stay in the city and prepare to weather the storm? Should they join the struggle? Or should they simply avoid it? After a sleepless night, you gather in the sitting room as a family once again. Father is the first to speak. His determined yet surprisingly calm voice fills the room. This is what I was afraid would happen. The noble estate has turned a blind eye to the common people's misery, and now we have a revolt on our hands. It is my fault as well. I did all I could to serve the cause of justice, but it just wasn't enough, and now blood will be shed. The family patriarch casts a somber gaze over his children. I want to make one thing very clear. Today, our family cannot get involved in the unrest. We will not take sides. I feel for the common estate, but we're not getting dragged into a hopeless bloodbath. As for preserving the overseer's rule in Anizate, we will not sacrifice ourselves for that either. He has led Magra to this rebellion, and now it's up to him and his legion to deal with the rebels. And we mustn't forget Commander Otten and his noble militia. They're all too eager to use this opportunity to slaughter all the nobles they blame for the revolt. Father is silent for a while, then he takes his sword off the wall and places it firmly on the table. His voice rings with the coldness of steel. We will stay in our city and protect our home. Whatever danger we might face today, the Brantes will not surrender their home, their status, or their place in this world. None of you have ever seen Father so filled with resolve, but he still seeks your support. Robert, the patriarch of the Brante family, meets your gaze. My son, I know you're going to make your own decision. You're too deeply involved in the conflicts to stand aside. But right now I'm talking about our family here, Paul. Our family must remain out of harm's way, no matter what you decide to do.
Maybe they. Well, honestly, I don't like them fleeing because that means that our family is not going to be together. Maybe we should be. Maybe because we're important to the revolt, so they're not going to touch us. We can't send.
If only our father liked us a little bit more.
Yeah. um, Stefan Brante. Stefan isn't at home. It's kind of weird. Why is Stefan not at home? I don't know.
You
But
agree with
anyway,
Father. The Brontes need to take shelter at home and stay out of this struggle. It would be unwise for the family to take any side in the coming conflict. They should just focus on keeping each other safe. You, however, will have to act on your own. This is a historic day. You cannot stay out of it. Soon you will join the struggle for the city's future. You have to get ready and muster all your strength. Father lets out a bitter sigh and puts his hand on your shoulder. Very well, son. I always knew you had your own destiny. I hope you fulfill it today. Determination written on his face, Father stands up and buckles on his sword belt. As for the rest of us, we will stay home and stick together. Check all the locks, board all the windows, and reinforce the doors. You say your hurried farewells to your family and leave them to their preparations for the coming storm. If they should find themselves in danger, you promise to come home and help them at once, but in your heart of hearts, you are still uneasy. You finally walk out the door and head for the gate. This is where you belong now, on the streets, where history is about to be written. Paul, hold on! You turn around and look behind you. The hunched, hapless silhouette of your younger brother appears on the steps. Nathan hurries towards you.
what are you gonna say? I like all the characters in this game. I found they're cool. Even the mean ones are really cool. It's but it's they don't have that much dialogue in the sense of like they don't just stay there and like talk to you constantly and like do stupid quips. Yeah. Everything is in there. Like everything is full of information about them. And yeah, the little pictures are great, of course. I love them. They're like engravings. The ones made for the printers in times past. No, not the printers. They're called the printing presses. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. They're all like they're all individually formed, I guess. You know, they all have like things going for them. You know, and they're all flawed in some way. Your younger brother stands before you, clutching an old prayer book. He speaks, sighs deeply, then begins to speak. I know you're in a hurry, Paul. I'll try not to take too much of your time. As you know, my faith has wavered all my life. The twins know how much I've sinned, but even in my darkest hour, I knew they hadn't turned away from our world. I knew they still cared. Nathan is quiet for a moment, watching a tiny ant make its way across the porch. But I just can't understand, no matter how hard I try, what's happening to us. This revolt against the Empire. How did the twins let it happen? Is this even possible? I mean, the twins made the whole world as part of their design, didn't they? Does this mean the entire world is about to fall apart? This revolt, what is it? Please help me understand. Nathan's sullen gaze rises towards the shining pillar, but thick gray storm clouds are already moving towards you.
What do you think, Paul? If kind of government and power is ordained by a higher power, why does it seem to collapse? Like, why does it seem to have these ebbs and flows? What do you think? Like no, outside of the just cycles, because cycles are more a biological thing. Like, why are things not stable? Kind of on a theological level. Like, if God is stable and the world that he made is to a degree stable, or like man's nature is stable, why does man have to experience the fall again and again and again and again? You know, like in his personal life.
Because we're a project.
You think it's moving towards something?
Oh, of course. In order to be a Christian, you have to believe that there is a linear existence. Why did God create humans to understand everything through cause and effect? That is how all humans understand everything. Cause and effect. Linear time. Why? That's because, you know, even if we are a little tiny part of God's design, we're still unbelievably important. I read a study recently that shows that on a large enough scale, things that data inputs that seemed random to mathematicians actually were not at all random. They were just a part of patterns that were so big that they didn't have the instruments to understand them. And this is, you know, this is when you start getting into the kind of Calvinism thing. But it's like, there is no such thing as randomness. You know, if God is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnibenevolent, then nothing that on earth that happens and nothing in the world that happens is random. Everything happens for a reason. There's no coincidences. You know, everything has been measured out down to the way that each individual blade of grass sways in the wind. You know, and all of it was effortless. And so, you know, I believe that if God is perfectly stable, if God is zero entropy, and humans are high entropy,
it cancels each other out.
It doesn't cancel each other out. No, it's more of the fact that we are a part of a project. We are in the process of becoming. And it doesn't seem like it's happening immediately to us. But that's because that's the problem of our perspective. We're limited in our understanding of timetables. To God, you know, he's probably like, you know, to God it may be almost done. But the thing is, you know, the Bible says that a day is like 1,000 years, or 1,000 years is like a day to the Lord. You know, God just, like, his timetable is different, you know, and all we can do is, you know, Spengler's Roman centurion standing in Pompeii. You know, that's all we can do. That's I really like that motif, by the way. I think that's a really good motif to understand, especially given the chaos of today. It's like, look, there was a Roman soldier at Pompeii who didn't abandon his post, even though there was a volcano erupting, because no one came to relieve him. And he died.
He was just, yeah. But maybe I would have done the same. It's like, you know, I mean, maybe the volcano is now, but service is forever.
It's true. It's like, you know, there was another instance, right? And this happened in pre-independence America, in Connecticut, very specifically. I believe it was Connecticut. As a matter of fact, hold on. Let me pull this up, Bobby. All right.
Go ahead.
I want to read this. I've read this before.
But what if this is the project, huh? Like the project is a project that it's like a lava lamp, not like a story. What is it? What did you say about the war? That God likes God likes war.
He does, yeah. God loves war.
That's very Blood Meridian of you.
Well, you know, he finds it entertaining, you know, and the thing is too is it's like death isn't actually death, you know. All right.
I mean, oh, by the way, and this is an interesting one. Do Christians believe in reincarnation?
No.
It's like,
no.
Well, don't you reincarnate in paradise?
No. Reincarnation implies that you are Reincarnation implies you are being born as a different thing. I used to believe in reincarnation as when I was a Vedic pagan. I've also got the letter pulled up, Bobby, to further answer your question. But I'll answer this too. No, you don't believe in reincarnation, because mostly because I believe in the infinite creativity of God. I don't believe in reincarnation because I believe God is infinitely creative and could make functionally infinite human beings eternally if he wanted to. You know.
Well, what if not all human beings are human beings? Something like that.
That is a line I do not feel comfortable crossing, because
as a Russian, I am definitely kind of, if you see that something that looks human, it might not be human. Your eyes might be deceiving you. And starting from the very simple things that it might be a mannequin or an imitation of a human, a scarecrow, a shadow in the night, or demonic entities, right? Ending with the fact that, like, even the Pirahas in the jungle never considered Daniel Everett, the missionary that came to them and that learned the language, as a human. In fact, one of the questions that they asked is, like, do white people ever die, and do white people have like blood? Because they saw that white people were pale skinned and they didn't think that they had blood. And each time they talked to Daniel, they would not talk to him as a human, but they would talk to him as if he were some program that reproduced sound. And it was really fun for them. For example, whenever they wanted to ask him something, they would come as a group, they would turn to the other people in the group, and they would say what they were going to say to Daniel. And then they would turn and they would say it to Daniel in Piraha language. And obviously Daniel understood that. And in fact, he like asked them multiple times. And I don't think that our experience of God is like contained in, it's like objective for everyone. I think that it might have like areas of influence. It's definitely not limited to one person, and it's not like a group hallucination. But it's you can be outside of it, and for the people who are inside of it, you're not really human. You don't really have a soul crafted by God. And kind of, I think that's if we want to continue living in this world that's as big as ours, we have to make exclusionary policies.
I
We
don't,
have to say like no. What do you think?
Bobby. I don't necessarily know if that's somewhere I want to follow because, because
what if you're wrong?
Well,
right?
the thing about it is it's like it's easier. It's not easier. It's more likely to be correct that anyone who is anatomical humans are, one when you see one. Just like Uncanny Valley, Bobby. All right, one when you see one. All right, and then a lot of them are demon possessed. Sure. All right.
Well, that's the interesting thing. You said that you know them when you see them, right? But and this is once again from that book, the Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes, is that all of the tribes people there call each other fauna. They call each other monkeys, especially like the Brazil traders that go through the river. They don't consider each other humans. And of course, like Russians who live in a massive multicultural, crazy country, like Georgians, or like the Gastarbeiters from southern Asian Russia, like they don't consider Russians humans, and the Russians just consider them workers, like worker ants or something.
Well, and that's the problem with that's the problem with that tribe of people. That's the problem with Russians, and that's the problem with Georgians. just because they all believe that doesn't mean it's fucking true. Like, you don't need to, you don't need to want your daughter to marry a Negro and, in order to believe that he is human, in order to believe that. But the thing is it's like you need a proper understanding of this. And this is why I like Cringe Walker's thing. All humans are you have to understand this, is it's like, a human because a human is descended from Adam. And in order to, you need to believe that Adam was a historical figure, i.e. he existed. He was the first human from whom all other humans are descended. And you don't know what he looked like. I don't know what the fuck he looked like. Shit, like, and
I think there's a lot of like paintings that come close.
Well, the thing is it's like, I don't know if Adam was white. I don't know what he was, and I'm not going to pretend like I do, because it doesn't really fucking matter, Bobby. What matters is that we are all, like, that is the one person, you take me and you take some frickin', like, Australian Aborigine, and the one thing that we both have in common is the fact that we are both descended from Adam.
other
And
human besides Adam? Because the Bible doesn't immediately start with the creation of Adam. Like there is a line about like other humans, like God creating other humans out of clay and then creating Adam.
no, no.
No? Am I wrong?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm grabbing my fucking Bible. You're making me quote the Bible on stream, Bobby.
Go ahead. Like we're not. I'm not. You know it better than me.
Yeah.
You know.
No, like,
So go
and
ahead.
this is the problem, is that this is, Christianity is not. All right. So yes, the first chapter of Genesis is just God creating existence. All right. And then the second chapter, he's creating all the things. All right. Hold on.
What about the Bible? The Tower of Babel. Is it a story that goes after Genesis or
Yeah.
before?
This no, it's in Genesis, but it's later. All right.
Mm-hmm.
These are the generations of the This is starting at Genesis 2:4. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. For the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed, singular, one man. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and grow for food and good for food. The tree of life is also known in this garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then what is it? And now he's naming rivers and all that. And the Lord God took the man and put him, this is 2:15, and the Lord God took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. And the Lord God said, It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an help meet for him. And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an help meet for him. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. And that's the end of Genesis 2. Adam was the first being created. What's up?
I really like the way you read the Bible. I bet you did, like you were past it once, right?
No. I make it a point, Bobby. Hold on, I have to put it back.
I'm not convinced.
Well, I mean, shit, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're convinced or not. It's the truth.
I'm not convinced that like hominids are unique to Adam. Kind of like that things that look like man.
Oh, of course.
Are just Adam. Like there are things that look like man that are not part of man.
Yeah, Lucifer would love you to believe that, because you're not special, Bobby. You're not special. There are aliens who are just like you, Bobby. Your consciousness isn't special. You're not a unique part of God's creation.
Man is special. But things that look like a man are not special.
If man is special, but there are other hominids who are conscious, then man is not special.
And that's the thing. What if they're not conscious?
Well, and that's, but the thing is, it's like I cannot, at least Bobby, I cannot make a judgment as to
Well,
what is conscious and what is not.
you know that that's not correct. Come on, Paul. Like you make a you know that like a pig is not as conscious
When
as
I
you,
see when I
right? Or a
see
chicken.
when I see a okay, well let's get into this. Let's not
This is good.
beat
This is
around the
good. Let's
bush.
continue.
All right. When I see a Negro, I may think a lot of things, but I think he is conscious, but he's conscious in the way a child is.
Well, that's just a you problem, right?
Oh, me out of the Bobby. I'm gonna go get another cup of coffee, and then we're gonna, what is it? Then we're
Well,
gonna,
it's good. It's interesting because this is a big perception issue. This is about eyes and less about writing comprehension. Because now we're talking about the way that we see things and what we project onto them. A person that lives amongst other hominids will project other properties onto them. But a person that lives with homogeneous hominids will not have anything to project upon them because they'll all look like him. He will just think of them what he thinks of himself. And that's kind of like for example, there's places in the world that have a lot of this ethnic strife, and they are faced with unknowable things and incomprehensible languages and people each day. And I think that really changes you as a person, because it's dangerous. There's danger, and you need to see who is your friend and who is your enemy, but in a very, very instant way. You can't just like, oh, well, what does he say? You have to see his race, you have to see his physiognomy, and like in Russia, there's even worse things than just between like whites and non-whites, right? Because like St. Petersburg and Moscow are basically other countries. And people from other cities don't really see themselves as part of that crowd. And to me, when I like I'm in Sicily, and I definitely see a lot of common with Sicilians. I don't see them as like non-humans or something, but they're really different. They're really different, and they don't understand me completely. And there's a lot of problems with that. They just don't really see me as a member of their anything. They see me as a curiosity, and that's why it stops. But a Russian, like especially the northern Russians, there's a lot of like familiarity amongst us. Like there's a lot of willingness to engage much more than Italians. Even if Italians really engage with your language, they really like when you speak to them. But there's a limiter. There's always a limiter, and I think that Americans have really gone deep into the language and have maybe forgotten their like meat space perception. And that's what we're talking about here. Like what happens inside of you really? Not what you want to say, not what you are even like taught to say, what you must say, but like what do you really have inside of you? What does your inner elephant tell you to do? My inner elephant is definitely much more exclusionary than yours.
Well, I don't know, Bobby. At this point, I don't know. I don't want to, like, I've heard of the idea of helix and of people who do not have third eyes and of people who inhabit the flesh and bones of man as an animal, but
that's Gnosticism.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, but I don't want to personally.
But you do understand the kind of the core of the issue.
Yeah, the core of the issue is there, but I really think that it can be solved by understanding the covenants that God made with the fathers of the three races,
which were
Noah's sons. All
you
peoples.
Think races are Noah's sons?
all the was it? What are the three primary races on Earth, Bobby? Um, Caucasoids, Negroids, and we're gonna. I'm pretty sure this stream is gonna get
Asiatics?
fucking yeah, and Orientals, yes. You
Orientals,
know,
yeah.
everyone
Mongoloid.
on the planet Earth, even Aborigines, is some version of those three. And this tracks with the three sons of Noah, that made covenants with God after the flood. Japheth, Shem, and Ham. Japheth, the father of all Europeans, and God made different covenants with each of the three. He said to Japheth, he said, I will always increase the lands of Japheth so long as he visits the tents of Shem. And this is like a Luth Templar point, but he's right. I like this. I think this is really helpful. Shem is where the word Semite comes from. The visiting the tents of Shem means worshiping the god of Shem, right? You know how, Bobby, this it maps with this game. You know how there are three lots, Bobby? Nobles, priests, and commoners.
There's a fourth one, which is the rejection.
Well, that's not a lot. That's like, what is it? That's not a lot. That is a
Is it a delusion?
It's like saying immolating your life is a career. No, it's not. Rejection of the lots is not a lot, right? It is a placeholder. At the, what is it?
But this campaign that we're playing, it's not a placeholder. It's a pretty sizable thing.
Yeah, you're right. It is a pretty sizable thing, but what we're doing is we're fucking, like, our character and the choices we're making are serving as acid on this world.
That's true. But in a way, it's serving as a glue for our family, because, no one's arguing anymore. But was that because of the revolt, or because we were good at playing John Milton?
It's because we simply decided to keep the family together over material things. Like, you can do that in any playthrough. You can do that in any means or in any ways. A lot of the times.
I don't know, but I think there is a, when we play the game, there's there's two figures, right? But there's one in the back, and people say, well, the one in the back is your sister or something. But, well, we interpreted it, or I interpreted it as the magic, right? As the third twin. And people say, oh, well, that's the father, the mother, and then your sister. But I don't know. It's like, if you say that there are three lots, which is the commoner, the priest, and the noble, right? And there are three figures there. Why are there four paths? Isn't the rejection of all of those a path, and by itself a lot? But it's a lot that you craft. And then if you go even further, there are only two lots in life, and one is bottom of the pillar, and one is on the top of the pillar.
That's a result. That's not a lot. I mean,
well, isn't the lot the result of your destiny, of the decision of your destiny?
No, a lot is. Here's the thing, Bobby. All right. Here's the thing. This is something I've understood, and I'm going to get a cup of coffee, and
go ahead.
While I go get my cup of coffee, as soon as I get back from my cup of coffee, I'm going to say what I'm intending to say. All right.
Go ahead. Yeah. Hey, Smeedsters! I see you guys are watching us. Thank you for watching. Bullshit, great. Chucksters to you, my boys. Possible modifications. Chainsaw, bayonet.
All right, Bobby. So
Yeah.
everything in the world is destined. Yes. All right. There is a destiny you have to follow along, and there is, and you don't have to work for that because that was given to you by God. You're doing zero work to follow your destiny. All right. It's kind of like a train. You're doing nothing to keep the train moving. The train is just simply carrying you. All right. But you choose which seat you get to sit on in the train. You choose whether you can get up and, and go and get some food at the frickin' dining car. You choose all of this. All of this you choose. And it may seem relatively minor, but that's the thing, is it's like, we are all set on our paths, but those paths are, what is it? We bring about those paths that were set for us by using the thing that God gave us, which is free will. Everything is predestined from God's perspective. But whenever we just sit back and say, oh, everything is just predestined and do nothing, that's us aping God's perspective and pretending to... No, like, you need to make decisions. You need to take risks because that is your work. That is your lot in life. It doesn't matter whether or not your decisions are destined to succeed or destined to fail. You must make them anyway. Once again, going back to the Roman soldier at Pompeii, it doesn't matter. All right? You need to, and a matter of fact, I was meaning to read this letter. I'm going to read this letter now, Bobby, and and once I read it, we're going to make our decision, and I know exactly what John Milton would tell his brother to do.
Okay.
Which is,
yeah, this one's a difficult decision.
No, John Milton would tell his brother to ask God.
Oh.
Which is what this is. Letter from Robert E. Lee to his son. So this was written on April the 5th, 1852, and this was at the lowest point of Robert E. Lee's career. John Brown had been executed, and Robert E. Lee was the leader of the Virginia militia, of the U.S. Marines, rather, that joined the Virginia militia in putting down John Brown's revolt. And Robert E. Lee was getting transferred to New Mexico, which was going to be a career killer. It was a do-nothing post. He believed he was getting out of the Army. He was having some personal issues. And on top of all of this, his son, George Washington Custis, had gotten into trouble at West Point. All right. He had gotten into trouble at West Point, and Robert E. Lee. So basically, on top of all of this stuff, this is the lowest point of Robert E. Lee's career. He hears his son has gotten into trouble at West Point. And not just didn't clean his boots, was actively drunken or something like that.
He snort cocaine?
No, he broke rules and got caught. He broke rules drinking alcohol or something like that. And at the low...
Did they have a trial law at that time, or was he just underage?
No, specifically it was the rules of the West... You know what West Point is?
It's a university.
West Point is the United States Army. It's the military academy of the United States. It is the
military.
What's the Russian military academy that all officers go to?
Well, at the time, it was the one my dad went to. It was the St. Petersburg military Doctors Academy.
Is that the top officers academy in Russia?
At the time,
what was the SARS military academy?
Ooh, I honestly don't know.
Well, so
definitely,
so the whole point is like this would have been. I'm trying to think of what the English example is. Every country has like a.
So one second. Leading military school in Russia is the military academy.
Yeah.
It is. Ooh, it's like 1830. Oh, 1832 is the Imperial Military Academy.
There you go.
Order of Saint George the Victorious.
Well, okay, so yeah, so literally the Russian Imperial Academy or the Imperial Military Academy. So West Point is the United States Military Academy. It was traditionally where all officers were educated. It is still the most senior college for producing officers. There are lower level colleges now, but because there are more officers needed than West Point has the capacity to train. But that's kind of what you have to understand is like this is the most prestigious school, one of the most prestigious schools in the United States, not just now but at the time. And Robert E. Lee worked very hard. And yeah, Robert E. Lee was born in like the top 1% of society and married the heir to George Washington's fortune, or the heiress to George Washington's fortune. But
Pause. What is George Washington's fortune?
Like all of them. So George Washington didn't have kids, but he did have relatives through his wife, Martha Washington, and which was the Custis family. And so all of George Washington's wealth that was at Mount Vernon, that was around that particular area, was passed to them, and they inherited it.
There's like Custer's Revenge?
No, Custis, not Custer. These are different families.
Okay.
This included Arlington House, which was built by, I think it was, I forget his name. It was like Martha's nephew or something like that. And he built Arlington as basically this big shrine to George Washington. On this commanding hill overlooking Washington D.C. If you've never been, but I'll show you if you come here. And it was like this. They called it the Mountain of Arlington. And then his daughter, Mary Custis, was the heiress because he had no sons. She was the heiress to all of that generational wealth. And several people tried to marry her. Several very famous Americans of the time tried to marry her. And they all failed. The most notable one was Samuel Houston. I don't know if you know that name, but Houston, Texas is named after him. He was the first president of Texas. He would go.
Did he win Texas in the poker game?
Essentially. But no, he led the Texas Revolution and established Texas as a independent.
High-stakes poker game.
Yeah, well, the high stakes poker game was actually a war, and he won it. But Robert E. Lee, even though he was the Lees had more signers of the Declaration of Independence than any other family in the United States. The Lees were a old Virginia family, and even though Robert was a part of it, he was like a lesser son. He wasn't even the firstborn. His father was really famous, Light Horse Harry, but he died in obscurity. He died broken and indebted, and so Robert E. Lee married into this. He married this George Washington fortune and graduated second in his class at West Point. Robert E. Lee is the only cadet in West Point history. And of course, they've renamed all of Lee's names on the buildings at West Point as of the last year because they hate everything. Lee is the only West Point cadet to have gone through without getting a single demerit. And that's if anyone has gone to West Point or any military academy, they understand how insane that is. But Lee had this little bright flash of glory when he fought in when he was in the Topographical Engineers Corps during the Mexican-American War with a lot of very famous future Civil War generals. And but then after that, he leads the thing to put down John Brown's revolt, but basically the army was winding down and he was getting sent to basically a career killing post in New Mexico. And so it's like Bobby, it's like we're sending you to Brazil, or it would be like if you were in the Soviet Union, you fuck up on the front.
We're sending you to Asbest.
Yeah, we're sending you to the fucking like Siberian gulags. You're gonna be a security officer out there. What's up?
Well, there's a town, there's a city in Russia built by Gulag, and it is there's a city there that's very, very spooky, a very spooky city. So there's one which is Asbestos, the city, which is literally called Asbestos, where most of the world's asbestos stays mined. But there's also another one which is where nickel is now gotten, and it's this massive. Pork. We're going to play Suzerain, and oh boy, I've got a big plan for Suzerain. But anyway, yeah, and there's a whole town that's like a concrete gravestone built entirely by Gulag hand, and it's really spooky. And I forgot its name, but I'll tell you once I find it out. But okay, let's continue. It's as if we.
Well, hold on. I haven't read the letter yet.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So now that you kind of know, Robert E. Lee is writing this at the lowest point of his career. This is before the Confederacy or anything like that. His son is just fucked up at West Point. Dated April the 5th, 1852. My dear son, I am just in the act of leaving for New Mexico. My fine old regiment has been ordered to that distant region, and I must hasten to see that they are properly taken care of. I have but little to add in reply to your letter of March 26th. Your letters breathe a true spirit of frankness. They have given myself and your mother great pleasure. You must study to be frank with the world. Frankness is the child of honest courage. Say what you mean to do on every occasion, and take it for granted you mean to do right. If a friend should ask a favor, you should grant it if it is possible and reasonable. If not, tell him plainly why you cannot. You will wrong him and yourself by equivocation of any kind. Never do a wrong thing to make a friend or keep one. The man who requires you to do so is dearly purchased at a sacrifice. Deal kindly but firmly with all your classmates. You will find it the policy which wears best. Above all, do not appear to others what you are not. If you have any fault to find with anyone, tell him, not others, of what you complain. There is no more dangerous experiment than that of undertaking to be one thing before a man's face and another behind his back. We should live and act and say nothing to injure of anyone. It is not only best as a matter of principle, but it is the path to peace and honor. In regard to duty, let me, in conclusion of this hasty letter, inform you that nearly 100 years ago, there was a day of remarkable gloom and darkness, still known as the Dark Day, a day when the light of the sun was slowly extinguished as if by an eclipse. The legislature of Connecticut was in session, and as its members saw the unexpected and unaccountable darkness coming on, they shared in the general awe and terror. It was supposed by many that the day of judgment had come. Someone, in the consternation of the hour, moved for an adjournment. Then there arose an old patriotic legislator, Davenport of Stamford, who said that if the last day had come, he desired to be found in his place of duty, and therefore moved that candles be brought in so that the house could proceed with its duty. There was quietness in that man's mind, the quietness of heavenly wisdom, an inflexible willingness to obey his duty. Duty, then, is the sublimest word in our language. Do your duty in all things, like the old Puritan. You cannot do more, you should never wish to do less. Let not me or your mother wear one gray hair for any lack of duty on your part. Your affectionate father, R.E. Lee.
Oh, man. Yeah, Lee must have been a great father.
Does that tells you what kind of man he was? The thing about Lee, Bobby,
it's definitely very, it's very sensitive. It's a very sensitive letter. It's not like, ooh, you know what? I think that was his wife was over the shoulder.
Well, that's
and I bet they had a big kind of not a fight, but they definitely talked to each other before they wrote this letter.
well,
but it's very beautiful.
Lee and his wife were very famous for like, especially in a time when marriages were kind of a socially expected thing, and a lot of people were just acknowledged that their marriage was kind of arranged. Lee and his wife were legitimately in love. Like, it wasn't just like an old family union. Like, they legitimately loved each other and took care of each other. Lee, Bobby, is one of the few examples where a great man was also a good man. And there are very few examples like that, but a lot of them can be found in the Confederate Army. But
I'm listening to one good example right now.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you this. John Milton would tell his brother, after we've been talking for fucking 30 minutes, John Milton would tell his brother to ask God what the revolt is about.
Go ahead.
Your hand comes to rest on Nathan's shoulder. You have always tried to guide your little brother to the truth, but right now only the gods themselves hold the answer he seeks. But you believe that he has the power to ask the twins himself. He spoke to the elder once. Surely he can speak to him again. Nathan falls silent, dumbstruck by your words. He unconsciously touches the sacred symbol he wears on his chest. Paul, you believe me? You really believe the elder spoke to me? Your eyes shift to the silver tree. It has always stood over this city. It brings back so many memories. You recall the way you felt when you first saw it up close. And then you speak. Yes, you tell Nathan. You believe him. And you believe in him. Your little brother kneels silently. He bows his head and speaks a prayer to the elder. Nathan's body begins to tremble. His eyes roll back in their sockets. The sacred symbol in his hand burns with a silver flame. You try to call out to him, but your mouth will not open. Your lips are sealed tight. The air is growing heavy. Time and space freeze. A few moments seem to last an eternity. And then it passes. Nathan leaps to his feet, his eyes wide. I heard him. I did. He's here, Paul. The elder. He walks among us. The elder is looking for an answer, just like me. He's calling out to us. He wants to know what happened to our world. He wants to hear us. I need to find him. Nathan suddenly stops in mid-thought. But our family needs me now too, right? We've got to stick together. Your hand comes to rest on your brother's shoulder once again. What's done is done. He has seen the truth and will never let it go. And it will never let him go. It is time for Nathan to walk his own path. He must find the elder. He must make himself heard. Nathan smiles meekly and embraces you as awkwardly as ever. I'll never forget everything you've done for me, brother. Farewell. Before he leaves, Nathan hesitates for a moment. He casts one final glance at the family home, then disappears beyond the gate. He walks alone now, combing the streets for a god mere moment before they erupt in madness. But this is Nathan's one true path now.
Damn.
Alright.
That's unexpected. Oh man, we are now also a prophet. Oh
So
man,
true.
there are 3 prophets.
The crimson sun slowly rises above the horizon.
John Milton, the prophet.
You make your way through a city in chaos, carefully observing what is happening on the streets. The rebellion is flaring up again after a night of calm. Once again, the commoners are taking to the squares in droves. The grim resolve in the rebels' eyes speaks volumes. They are determined to seize their freedom or die trying. There are others, however, who are huddling inside their homes, locking their doors and praying to survive the revolt unscathed. With every passing minute, you see more and more people carrying banners. They bear a hand clutching a lantern, the mark of the last straw. The conspirators have left the shadows at last. They hand out guns to the common folk, using these last precious minutes to quickly teach them how to fire them. The artisans are out on the streets too, cobbling together makeshift shields out of wood and nails to protect against the nobles and their blades. Fortunately for the rebels, the nobles remain divided. The old noble bloodlines have sided with Dorius Otten. The Archnean has sworn to bring down the revolt by any means necessary. His noble militia now stands guard in the Silver District, where the city's most eminent aristocrats have their homes. They represent the greatest threat to the revolt. Many nobles of the Mantle, however, are all too eager to violate their oath of fealty and side with the rebels. Though ennobled to serve the Empire, they no longer want to suffer under the boot of the high-born Archneans and human gentry. But there are many more who are still undecided. Soldiers and low-ranking officers of the Legion from the city's garrison, officials and functionaries, they have all found themselves caught between the Overseer's orders and the people's revolt. Many of them are biding their time, hoping the Legion or the Prefecture will spring into action and quell the unrest. But the Prefecture has yet to react. The city prefect, Sir Elborne, still has not made it clear which side he is on. Even the clergy has been swept up in the strife. Abbot Leonard is gathering new believers for a procession to the Silver Tree where the people will elect a new patriarch. Old believer priests and common folk who prefer to cling to the lots and save their souls stand in opposition. Even the Inquisition, whose duty it is to protect the Church of the Twin Gods against heresy, has been tainted by this schism.
Oh man, we're going to march on Vatican soon. I'll be in the service of heaven that protects in the holy line. It was 1527. Give their lives on the steps to heaven. Thy will be done.
So true.
For the grace, for the might of the Lord, for the souls of the holy. Do you know that song?
Yes, I do.
Wonderful. It's from Sabaton.
Yep.
Oh man,
I literally can't do anything. I cannot do anything here.
Ridiculous. Yeah, this is the worst kind of part of this game, unfortunately. Maybe it's also the best, but come on, oh come on.
The true fight for the fate of Anizate will begin in a matter of hours. You have had 8 years to curry influence among the people of the city. It's time to put your connections to test. Who can you sway to your side? Who will be willing to sacrifice their lives and fight for your cause? Fucking no one.
Just going to retreat. Just go on the ground like a little naked mole rat. Let's go ahead. Let's stick our hand. Let's stick our hand and head in the mud.
Alright. We don't even get, like, willpower from it. This will be a long day indeed. It will take all your wits and composure to do what must be done. You spend these last few hours of quiet, biding your time and mustering your strength. You keep your ear to the ground and plan your next move. The timing for this respite rest could not have been more perfect. The storm is yet to come. Both the defenders of the Imperial regime and the rebels need time to gather their forces for the pivotal clash. Gaius Tempest and the Legion will not arrive in Anizate until nightfall. Only then will the fate of the revolt be decided in the ultimate struggle. The Legion is already on the march toward the rebellious city. What can the rebels do to oppose it? Everything depends on how the conflicts of the day play out before the sun sets. The Prefecture and the gendarmes, will they pursue the rebels or take their side? Leonard's procession of new believers to the Silver Tree, will the people elect their first patriarch? The disjointed groups of insurgents, will they be able to unite? And if so, who will unite them? Your thoughts are interrupted. The sound of gunfire fills the city streets again. The lull is over. You can wait no longer. And I already had 30 willpower, so here we go. A cornered beast.
We have always had willpower, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. That's the thing about the lotless playthrough, though, is that you usually get a bunch of willpower. Noon approaches. Your thoughts keep returning it to Sophia as you muster your forces for the impending fight for the city's future. Where is she right now? What are her plans? What are her orders for the last draw? Joined by your followers, you carefully make your way through the now empty streets. Danger could lurk behind any corner. You take another turn and you hear someone moaning in pain. You quickly zigzag to the edge of the Silver District. At the end of the street is a square in which several wooden stakes have been hastily erected. Nailed to each stake is a commoner dressed in bloodied, tattered rags. What is going on here? You sign for your men to take cover by the wall of an old factory. You hear the hooves of a single horse clattering along the cobblestones. A stately horseman rides toward the stakes, a luxurious cloak draped across his shoulders. You have known his dire form since you were a lad. The Archnean's arrogant voice echoes through the square. People of Anizate, hear my words. I am Dorius Otten, High Commander of Magra, leader of the noble militia. Otten points the tip of his sword at the writhing commoners. These low-born wretches dared to sneak into the Silver District and rob noble homes, but I will not grant them the mercy of a lesser death by my blade. They will live and suffer as benefits their lot. This is their divine duty. Know this, rebels. Anyone who follows your precious Sophia will share the same fate. I know my runaway servant's wily ways. She'll send you all at me without a second thought, and you will all die by my hand. She won't care. She's completely insane. All she wants is to see Anizote burn to the ground. Your men exchange uneasy glances. You motion for them to remain quiet. You need to stay out of sight for now. Sophia, I know you're around here somewhere. You've grown up, but you're still my property. I can see your people turning their backs on you. All hope is lost. Come back to your lord and master. You will be mine forever.
No, it's Lord Simp. Lord Simp is gone.
Daddy wants his kitten back.
Kitten hasn't logged into her Discord for a day. You know what Daddy does when he's angry. You don't want to make Daddy angry.
So true. The lone rider is motionless and silent in the empty square. It is quiet. Even the captive commoners stifle their moans. Hold on. Bang! A squad of last straw rebels spill out of the alleyway and rushes at Otten. Sophia is the first among them, her plain shirt stained with blood, a long, heavy musket in her hands. You lying, blue-faced whoreson, I want him alive. The People's Court will deal with him. Sophia stops and takes aim. Another gunshot rumbles. Otten's mare collapses, wounded, taking her rider to the ground. The rebels run toward Otten, celebrating his downfall, but then you hear the deafening clack of hooves coming from the Silver District. The noble militia! The riders were waiting to ambush Sophia. The elite cavalrymen smash into the last straw squad like a heavy steel gauntlet. The rebels are taken by surprise. They are about to retreat. Otten gets up from under his horse, his sword at the ready. Not one step back, damn you! We'll fight them to the end! The militia has the rebels and their leaders surrounded. Your people are hugging the wall, trying to stay out of sight. They watch the fight anxiously, awaiting your orders. It is time to act. It is time to act. If Sophia is captured, she will not be there to lead the rebellion. However, if she escapes, the revolt will be ruled by her merciless, vindictive cruelty. This is more about than just Sophia, you remind yourself. This confrontation could decide the fate of the entire revolt.
We gotta go. Our wife was in danger, Paul.
So true.
It is in dire trouble. We must save Sophia.
St. Milton, you give your orders quietly. Ready your weapons, be quiet, and follow me. We must rescue Sophia and her people. The rage of battle and the deafening rumble of gunfire render the noble riders blind and deaf to your approach. You bring your squad closer, waiting for the perfect moment to take them by surprise. Sophia and her rebels fight with all their might, but the riders keep pushing. The ring around them becomes smaller and smaller. Squad, attack! Our cause is just. Sophia, we're coming. Death to tyrants! Steel grinding against steel, clouds of acrid smoke, the stench of blood, horses neighing in terror. You used to walk to Sir Tibor's school along this very street, but now it is the site of a terrible battle. To find Sophia in the chaotic skirmish, you follow the flashes of magical yellow light. One by one, the riders fall from their saddles, paralyzed by her spell. Sophia's sepia eyes burn with rage. Come here, Otten, I'll show you what your servant can do. Driven by blinding rage, the desperate young woman faces the armed and armored riders on her own. You finally make your way to her side. Sophia! Paul, finally, I thought they got you. Come on, let's crush them together. You scream over the sounds of the skirmish. No, this is a battle you cannot win. You will have to abandon the captives. You have to get out of this trap right now. Sophia takes a moment to catch her breath, then return to her senses. The furious yellow light in her eyes dies down. Her loyal fighters form a shield around her, blocking another assault by Otten's riders. Reinforcements on horseback are already heading away from the noble Silver District. You grab Sophia by the elbow. Your voice hoarse, you scream in order at the rebels. Retreat. You withdraw from the square down narrow back streets and alleyways under the cover of gunfire. Back streets, back. All right. Sorry, I had to do it. The riders quickly lose track of you. Only Otten's scream of rage reaches your ears now. Just wait till I get my hands on you, you filthy slut. You better thank the twins. I have more important matters to attend to. What is it? Smiling soy jack face over crying soy jack face.
Yeah. It's like the frogs are running away from Shia LaBeouf, Wojak. Man, Darius Otten is Darius Otten gets the #1 simp award.
Darius Otten gets the #1.
He's been simping for Sophia since she was like 10. You know, he's not only a Discord groomer, he's also a Twitch simp. So like, he better get his comeuppance.
Oh, in the quiet space surrounded by several houses with boarded up doors and windows, Sophia's rebels take a moment to lick their wounds. They join your fighters next. Few of those rebels survive, but they have the guns, training, and tenacity to see this through to the very end. While everyone recovers, you wander away to find Sophia. She is sitting on the doorstep of an abandoned house far from the rest of you. I almost got us all killed, Paul, if it weren't for you. Otten tried to turn our own men against us. He told them I was crazy. I couldn't let him keep lying like that.
1 second, pause. Read what Saddam Hussein just wrote in the chat.
Hold on, let me take a look. Let me take a look at the chat real quick. I haven't been looking at it. You know, Bobby, that's actually Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, I know. It's the
Arcanian stare when someone says something so magrophobic. It's
so true. So true.
You put a hand on those. Ever since this all began, you have both known that the revolt would cost you dearly. Right now, all you can do is keep fighting no matter what. And if any members of the last straw get scared and try to switch sides when faced with fire and blood, you will show them no mercy. Sophia should know that you will be by her side until the very end. Sophia gets back on her feet, angry flecks of gold glowing in her eyes again. You're right, no mercy. If they listen to the enemy, they're the enemy too. I won't make the same mistake again. I'm through second-guessing myself. The people need me. My place is here in the street. I need to lead the people, give them a purpose, give them a leader, and grind the old order into dust. Girl boss, there's a big gathering at Empire Square over by the Chancellor. I should be there.
Oh my god! I just realized Sophia's modeled after Anita Sarkeesian. Oh no!
If we want to fend off the Legion, I gotta bring this whole city together on the banner of the last straw. But we still got plenty of enemies in Anizate. I hear Otten and his militia have just moved out to the prefecture and they want to execute El Borne and his judges for treason. There's lots of people by the prefecture. We need them on our side. Who knows? Maybe even El Borne will join us. You should head there. I'll start getting people together in Empire Square. Sophia squeezes your hand so hard it hurts. And come back to me as soon as you can, okay, Paul? I can't do this without you. You squeeze her hand in return, and then you part ways. Sophia and her most loyal rebels leave for the Empire Square. Your next stop is the prefecture. Rebels are winning, and we got soldiers.
Oh, yes, Anita Sarkeesian is leading the feminist revolt. Oh, yeah. And John Milton is right there with her. Prepared for anything.
Evil be thou my good.
He is the, there's like simps, but then there's like, how to say it? It's like so a Twitch thumb, right? She's streaming and she's got sims and whatever. They give her money and stuff like that. But then when she ends the stream, the Giga Chat walks into the room, woman down, and she drops down, right? She's like, woman, fuck. Right, he's like this big troglodyte, hairy, massive brow, like jutting out of his fucking massive Giga Chat face, like fucking 50 centimeters ahead, right? He's carrying a big club. He like takes her by the hair, slings her over the shoulder, stuff like that. That's who we are, buddy. Like we're the troglodyte with the Uber chat, the Uber chat that's so chatified that he basically doesn't care what kind of control there is over like the government, matriarchy, patriarchy, theology, whatever. He's like, he gets his poon and then he does whatever the fuck he wants. He doesn't care about sims. He doesn't care about like people. He doesn't care about economy or whatever. He's just there, and he's like, yeah, buddy, Anita Sarkeesian, get down, Like that's who Anita has, and she hides him because she knows that he goes against everything that she believes. And by Sneed, we're gonna bring this revolt to its natural conclusion, where it's just us, Anita, the cave, and the wild world.
On that note. The searing sun looms high in the sky above the rebellious city. The square in front of the prefecture is packed with commoners. Just a moment ago, they boldly demanded that the judges and gendarmes side with the rebellion. But now they are terrified. They fear the noble army that is coming for them. Their calls for rebellion are gone, replaced by frightened screams. Hooves thunder against the cobblestone. The earth quakes beneath their feet. The noble militia led by Dorius Otten carves a path through the human sea. The terrified rebels scatter as their riders approach. The gendarmes remain where they are, forming a tight circle around the prefecture and Elborne. The prefect calls out to the crowd, his voice hoarse. Everyone stay calm, let them through, do not draw your weapons. Otton's riders push the mob aside and eventually reach the tall building. The Archnean commander draws in his reins only when the gendarmes, all that separate him from the prefecture, stares. Prefect Elborne, how dare you disobey the order of the province's rightful rulers? You have abused your position to appease the rebels and defy imperial rule. This inconceivable rebellion is your fault. I mean, it's happening. It's pretty conceivable.
Inconceivable!
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. It's time for you to accept your well-earned punishment. In the name of Archduke Milanidas, I hereby order you and your gendarmes to surrender your weapons. The supreme judge of the prefecture maintains his composure in the face of this recrimination. I only obey the laws of the Empire, Sir Otton, not you or your runaway Archduke. Otton's face contorts into a predatory grin. Excellent. You've had a chance to save face, old man. Instead of a dignified execution, you and your cronies will hang, like the foul rabble you've betrayed us for. Otton lifts his sword skyward, prepared to order an assault. The rebels behind him are about to attack. The gendarmes ready their clubs. Their hands are trembling. They will not stand a chance against the noble cavalry. The mob begins to shift, about to flee in the square. The fate of this moment hangs by a thread. So this is where your 20 skill can be utilized. All right. This is the This is the one place where. Hold on.
What the hell? Get Otton and Elborne to reconcile? Whack.
Yeah, you can, You can challenge Otton to a duel if you're doing the noble path. If you get, If you're doing some other stuff, you can get Otton's army to abandon him. But since we got since we got super helpful people, we can just it's time to rabble rouse, Bobby.
Yes, blood.
Otton's riders advance on the gendarmes. If you do nothing, the prefecture will fall. You need to act now. You leap into the mob, scramble up onto an overturned carriage, and call out to the throng. You hear voices through the crowds. It's Brante! Paul Brante wants to say something! You shout as loudly as you can. People of Anizate, do not fear the wrath of the nobles. Your lives are finally yours for the first time since the empire was founded. Cast off the lot of humility. You are many and they are few. It is time to fight. For years and years, the prefecture has always been there to protect the rights and freedoms of the common man. We cannot let it fall into enemy hands. Stop them. Protect the prefect. Elborne hears you over the din of the struggle on the prefecture stairs. His voice joins yours. Show them you have no fear. Take your rights by force. I, Prefect Elborne, am on your side. Your words inspired the people with a sense of solidarity. They have much to lose now, and they will not surrender their freedom without a fight. In the blink of an eye, the unwieldy throng bristles with heavy sticks, wooden clubs, and makeshift spears. You start giving orders from your impromptu podium, commanding this newfound army to assault the rear of Otton's cavalry. Cut the rabble down, no mercy! The cavalry turns to face them with an onslaught of sharp steel. Bones crack beneath hooves, swords slice through defenseless flesh. The stench of blood fills the square as fallen bodies dissipate into glimmering dust. You keep doling out furious commands, trying to ensure that the common folk are not routed. Hold the line, stand your ground, better a lesser death than eternal slavery. The riders smash into them again, but the line holds. The people have numerical superiority, and their spears and clubs strike back. The cavalry begins to drown in the sea of humanity. This is like Empire Total War, Bobby. You know, it's like if you try to charge a line with your heavy cavalry...
Video game is just like the other video game.
It's so true. It's so true. It's like I would always have militia in Empire Total War, that if cavalry charged, I would just have the militia tar pit the cavalry.
You're just fooling people onto the cavalry.
Yeah, it's true. Like, it's true because it's like yeah, cavalry is really powerful when it's moving.
Yeah, it's spooky. You know, scary.
The riders smash into them again. But the line holds. The people have numerical superiority as the cavalry begins to drown in a sea of humanity. The gendarmes hit Otton's warriors from the rear. One by one, the riders are dragged from their horses. The noble militia falters. Traitorous filth, retreat! Otton's surviving horsemen turn tail and flee, furiously carving a path with their swords. At least half of Otton's men have fallen in this battle. Cries of victory fill the square. The commoners shake their weapons, eager to follow your orders. but it is far too
The
early to
Sims
celebrate.
lose.
You have only fought off one assault. Prefect Elborne finds you in the boisterous crowd. Paul,
Yeah,
your
well,
courage
the
has
Jannies soon. I mean, the Jannies are arriving soon.
your courage has saved the prefecture. I'm with you until the end. Whatever you need from me, you will have it. We need to hurry now. The noble militia we've seen in the city pales in comparison to the forces of the Legion. I'll gather our forces in the prefecture.
Augustine is the most soy character in this whole game, right? Do you remember him in the grandpa? He's like, oh, you know, you don't have to like, you know, she's a good girl.
Sorry, Bobby.
No!
In this house, we love good men like Augustin Elborne. Sorry, Bobby. Principled good men like Augustin Elborne are celebrated here. Hate to tell ya.
Yeah, it's like the plaque, the Black Lives Matter here, but it's like Augustine Elborne is valid.
No, look, all right, look. You know, here's the thing, Bobby. Augustin Elborne is the one noble who tries to live by the spirit of the noble lot. All right. Other than your father. Augustin Elborne and your father are the only two in the game who are trying to live by the spirit of the noble lot and not by the letter of it. We need to hurry now. The noble, I'll gather forces at the prefecture and establish a unified command structure. You should find Abbot Leonard and aid him in any way you can. His procession must be en route. His procession must be en route to the Silver Tree by now. The enemies of the new faith are waiting, their weapons in hand. They'll massacre each other if we don't stop them, Brante. Excuse me. This city is a powder kegs with the short fuse. More fire and blood is the last thing we need. What we need is more allies, and having Leonard on our side is crucial. We need a spiritual leader who can unite the city against the Legion. You nod to Elborne. The fate of the feud between the two faiths will be decided on the clash at the Silver Tree. You have to be there. You wish the prefect luck, then muster your loyal forces and head for the tree. We have an army.
Oh, well.
But we need to, I think we need to get the revolt down. Let's take a run. We have to look at the destiny, Bobby. An enormous sea of humanity flows through Anizate, filling the streets of the temple district.
Dude, this chapter is a riot.
They are led by Abbot Leonard.
This is where like the writing really shines. You know, I think the beginning and the end, and like, because the beginning was a very cool like writing challenge about the way a child sees the world. It's very much a men with chests instead of without chests. But now here we're into action, right? It's blood. It's sweat, right? They're cutting each other up. The end of an empire, the acid solving everything. A holy war, right? A war of class, a war of like loss, and all of that is just turmoil, human sea, horses, you know, man, lesser deaths, people getting crucified. Oh man, it's, you know, it gives you purpose, it gives you meaning. It's like, you know, it's why a lot of people really like the Old Testament. It's because there's a lot of action in there.
And, you know, the thing about it, too, is it's like, you know, Cormac McCarthy is one of the most Christian writers you'll ever come across. Cormac McCarthy, his books are so unbelievably... He writes them in King James English, basically, you know. And there's a line in...
No punctuation, though.
What's up?
Like... No punctuation, except for commas and periods.
Well, and honestly, you know, it works. It works.
Yeah, it works.
It kind of throws off stupid rules of the English language that were meant for a different time.
Well, so Cormac, you're right, but there's also a hypnotic quality to his books, where you get really engrossed into it, and it works for his stories because his stories are about, well, time travel and like mind travel, but it probably wouldn't work as well for like an encyclopedia, you know.
Well, yeah, you're right, but it's like write what you're supposed to write for the format. Don't write like an encyclopedia for fiction, you know. The thing about Cormac McCarthy is he is unbelievably Old Testament, and you get the mental vistas you get reading Cormac McCarthy are very similar to the ones you get reading the Old Testament. It's like absolute utter violence occurring in a desert. But
well, that's Blood Meridian.
But I'll tell you this, man. Like, the judge's one of the best line the judge has in Blood Meridian is, "War is at once the forcing of the unity of existence. War is God."
Well, he says that war is the ultimate trade awaiting its ultimate practitioner.
Well, yeah, that's humankind. It's like and the Bible says war will be the state of humankind until the second coming. We will continue having to fight war until basically it's like, this wasn't Adam and Eve. Like, this was a product of the fall. When Cain killed Abel, Cain's punishment was to be made immortal and to suffer for the entirety of existence, and to wander amongst and see his children killing each other forever, over and over again. See all of his descendants keep killing each other. That was Cain's punishment from God.
I don't know. The way you're putting it is a little bit. I don't think that was the punishment. I think it's actually, Cain is not a story about punishment. It's a story about mercy, the infinite mercy of God. He said that if anyone touches you, he will have all those things multiplied onto him.
Yeah, it's true, but it's like it's mercy, but at the same time, it's You want me to pull out the frickin' Bible and read it again?
No, I don't know. You definitely have a different conception of God from what I have. You're more of a. I think God is a reprieve from the world. Something like that.
Oh no, that's absolutely what he is.
Well, I don't think that he's brutal. I don't think that he's the punishing kind.
I don't think he is either. I think that our capacity for understanding is that what lesser hearts and stomachs believe are brutal, I think is rather tame.
I don't think that hell was made by God. I think that it's a part of existence.
It says it was made by God. He made it explicitly for,
Is hell even in the Bible?
Yes. The lake of fire which he has prepared. Verbatim, the lake of fire which he has prepared for Lucifer, or for what was it? For Lucifer is a newer word, but for Satan and all of his angels, and all of the lost men,
Did they actually mention that? Like, that would be cool. I don't think I remember that verse. Yeah.
POV: Bobby has not actually read the Bible.
I'm LARPing as a medieval peasant.
Bobby, get yourself
awaiting a priest like Paul to educate me on that.
I'm not a priest, man.
That's why I'm more Catholic than Protestant.
I'm not a priest, man. I'm just a dude who reads the Bible. I'm just a Protestant. I have never been a priest. That I don't.
I'm uncomfortable. Getting my knowledge out of my limited theology experience while I read the Bible. For example, when you read it and when you explain things, I get a more of a it works for me. That works for me, because when I read it by myself, I see things that are written instead of things that aren't, and maybe that's why I have a lot of misconceptions about it. That's how just people saw it. People saw it in the past. I don't think that people didn't read the Bible because they didn't want to, because they didn't speak the language. I think they didn't read it because that's not how it works. Initially these are all oral things compiled. These are all oral stories and things that happened that people told to other people. This is the if I were so there are words in the Bible that are literally written by God, which are the commandments, right? Paul.
Yeah, the whole Bible is literally written by God. every single word has been
No,
written.
you can't say that.
Yes, I fucking can, because it's the truth.
But it's divinely inspired. It's not literally. It's not like literally written by
What
God.
divinely inspired means that the Holy Spirit was utilizing the men that were writing it to write it as the
But not in the sense of like the Quran, for example. Like people believe in the Quran.
God did not physically come down on earth. You know, it was not Jesus Christ who put pen to paper.
Wrote the command. He did physically write the commandments, though.
Did he actually? Did he carve them on stone, or did Moses carve them on stone?
No. Moses received the tablets with carved. But like.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments still apply, by the way. Those are still.
I'm not like against it. Paul.
Well, that's the founding laws of existence.
The point that I'm saying is that initially they were not written. All of the things that happen in the Bible were not written initially. Bible doesn't arrive with the emergence of written language. It was there. It's a foundational document of our existence.
Yeah.
Like there was, you could say that there was time. So there's the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? There were clearly people in the Old Testament, but to me, the Old Testament is more of things ended and things are really bad, and here's how order comes into them. Here's how order manifests itself. While the New Testament is what we should kind of strive towards. You have the explanation, and then like the ordering of your life. Of course, the explanation has also the ordering of your life, of course, because you can parse stories and get useful information from them and useful lessons. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't think that it's a coincidence that some people want to read the Bible and some people want it to be read to them. Paul?
Yeah, I mean...
What do you think?
I'm a Protestant, so you know what I think.
Well, okay, what is your explanation for why people didn't feel like they needed to read the Bible, or that they didn't want to read the Bible in the past?
It's because mass literacy as a social technology was not feasible until the printing press was invented.
I mean, Russia, like the counterpoint to that, Russia, like Novgorod.
Okay.
People just like took birch bark and just wrote on it.
Yeah, but you have to understand, Bobby, it doesn't matter, right? The printing, with the industrialization of information with the printing press, which does not pre-exist the printing press, mass literacy was simply not feasible. It didn't, because, there were not enough man hours present to make enough books to spread to the amount of people. Like, even, you had monks working around the clock writing. They weren't just illuminating manuscripts, they were just writing books, filling parchment,
engravings.
Yeah, filling paper, all that.
One second. Why isn't there a church that's engraved from top to bottom with the Bible?
There were.
What do you mean there were? No, there's none. Like there are paintings of it, of course. Paintings, images, imagery.
I'm pretty sure that there were churches. Well, but I'm pretty sure there was at least one church that had something like that. Maybe not engraved from top to bottom, but like you say, that of course that had to have existed in some point. I don't know.
You can just have a building. You can have a stone. You can have like what Augustus did with
Bobby and Paul argue theology.
We're not arguing. Well, first of all, we're not arguing theology. We're having a discussion. We're having a dialogue.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the
even if our countries are at war, I'm not at war with you.
Well, I mean,
I'm not even in the country.
Well, you're an expat, so you're allowed to. You're given the right to Except basically expats have this great situation where whenever your country does something you like, you're like, yeah, I'm proud to be. And whenever your country does something you don't like, you can be like, well, hey, I'm an expat, so.
Man, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, but hey, Bobby, I'll tell you this. You have to understand is that the key is I'm not a technology bad person. As a matter of fact, technological advancement is vital to the human condition. Teleologically, there is no difference between making a hammer or making an axe and programming a software to automate an industrial process. There is teleologically no difference between the two. They are both things to make a task easier. All right? I've always said this. Technology is neither good nor bad. It is neutral in and of itself. But then when
programming, you're not really doing it. You're giving commands to something else.
Exactly. But it's to automate a process. That's why you have automated programming.
An axe, you do it yourself. An axe, it's just you. Here, it's in the other part. It's you and something else.
No, it's not you. It is not you. Have you made your bones sharp, and are you chopping the tree with your sharp bones? No, you're using a piece of sharpened steel, which is taking the brunt. You are applying the force to it to do it, but you are not actually doing it. You know, even if you consider your hands, like let's say you're planting soil in the garden. You know, did you do anything to earn your hands? Did you do anything to create your hands? No, you just have them. All right.
Did you do anything to create your hands?
Did you do anything to create the soil? Are you what is it? You know, yes, you may water the soil, you may pull out the weeds, but you're just doing minor work. All right.
Are we responsible for our perception of the utility of things around us?
Yes, you are.
Well, then you do create it. Then you are responsible for the soil because then you categorize it as the soil.
No,
because without it, it's just stuff. It's just meaningless stuff without you.
Bobby, did you put the nutrients? Did you single-handedly design the atoms of the nutrients in the soil to give the plants?
No, but I recognized of its existence and utilized it, thus bringing it into the world as Adam, you know, when he names the animals.
Yes, but that's what God created us to do. We are tool builders. Humans are a race of little craftsmen. We are a race of builders, and that's what God made us to do. He made us to have all of us, every single one of us, doing one little or two little widget jobs. All right. What we do is so comparatively minor, even to the rest of the planet, much less to what God is doing. Like, you know, and it's like even, you know, and so this is what has to be understood, Bobby, is it's like when you plant something in the ground, you did not, out of nothing, synthesize that plant into existence. You did not put the nutrients in the soil. You didn't even have the millions of years of volcanic process or whatever happened to make the soil fertile. You do not cause the sun to rise every day. You do not cause the plants to take in the rays of sun, like, you know, through chlorophyll and go through whatever process they go through.
But they do not exist without your... they are of no interest to you without your perception of their utility.
Yes, but they exist independent of you. You know.
Yes, but if you're not there, you can't evaluate their existence. You know.
Maybe not immediately, but like object permanence is a thing, Bobby. You don't have to be there to evaluate their existence.
I know. But in our life, if we're not aware of something, yeah, I get it. It's the tree falls in a goon cave. You know, who does it hit? I get it. Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't even remember why we started this conversation.
It's, you know, what is the role of God? Religious. Well,
No,
hey Bobby, let's get through this chapter and then we'll finish it up next week. We'll probably finish the game next week.
If we finish it, ooh, it's too. Yeah, let's finish it up. But I think this episode was pretty good because I think there's a lot to talk about, and also our conceptions of the numinous are different. They're close, but they're definitely different. We do differ in some, I think, fundamental even issues. Even if we can, like, I wouldn't feel at odds with you as a Protestant, even if I were a fully fledged Catholic.
All right, give me a second, Bobby. All right, I'm gonna make this really simple. I'm gonna make this extremely simple. All right, I'm gonna read something.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna read something. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit and born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried. The third day he rose from the dead, he ascended into heaven, and sitteth at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen.
Amen.
Do you disbelieve in it? Catholic in this instance isn't referring to the church.
I don't disbelieve in any of this.
Then we have no problems, all right? We have absolutely zero problems. That is the bare minimum. Nothing beyond that matters as far as I'm concerned. Nothing beyond that matters. All right.
Well, hey, I'm happy that we can find a common ground when it seems that so many can't.
Well, that's what the Apostles' Creed is for.
It seems that like the leaders and just the higher ups just can't get along. Like no one seems to be able to get along. No, it's very sad.
The march of the new faith. The new believers walk peacefully behind him, many of them women and the elderly. They are unarmed. Their faces show neither fear nor anger. They are so drastically unlike the throngs of rebels who are currently ransacking streets and looting noble houses. The procession slowly makes its way toward the temple at the Silver Tree. The temple has always been where the patriarchs of the church accept their sacred duty, along with the heavy burden of responsibility for their flock before the twin gods. When a patriarch speaks, the twins pay heed. And every 8 years it falls upon the patriarch to proclaim in their sight how their world is humbly following the lot it has been given. Long after the twins descended to our world, the patriarchs came to be elected at the conclave by the clergy. This tradition has continued for many years. Today, dozens of priests have come to the temple in spite of the unrest to conduct the rite and spare the twins' world from their wrath. But now thousands of commoners are walking to the same temple to elect the new patriarch themselves. You and your followers take a side street to the temple, avoiding the immense procession. Soon the square by the tree is packed, teeming, overwhelmed, but the stairs to the temple doors cannot be reached. A stalwart phalanx of champions of faith blocks the way, with Jeanne in the lead. They are joined by the Inquisitors, those who have decided to walk the path of the old faith until the very end. I will not allow you into the temple, Leonard. These heretics will not make you patriarch. Father Leonard slowly begins to ascend the stairs. He does not argue with Jeanne. The abbot simply faces her with a humble smile and gestures at the people standing behind him. Doubt clouds the champions' faces. Leonard's procession is truly staggering. Even if they are mere commoners, even if they are unarmed and empty-handed, there are simply too many of them to be stopped by a few dozen old believers. Sister Jeanne, look at them. Are they truly heretics? All of them? They are just people, our brothers and sisters in faith. Why would the Inquisition treat us like enemies? We do not reject the twin gods. Nay, we seek them with our every thought. You rejected the law of the younger when you chose to seek your own lots. No, Jeanne, the only thing we reject is Isasius' error. This argument has been going on for years, Leonard. I know each and every point you can make. Don't even bother. You will not enter the temple. And all these people, you're just dragging them down to the foot of the pillar along with you. How can you still not understand this after so many years? What do you think you're doing, Leonard? Don't you fear the wrath of the gods? Bobby, this really is like the not Catholic versus the not Protestant argument. I do not.
Yeah, but written by a Russian.
Yeah, When I become patriarch, I will tell the twins that we still love and revere them just as we always have, even as we seek a different path to them. The twins will hear us, they will listen, they will understand. There will be no wrath of the gods. The new believers heed Leonard's words. They begin to firmly ascend the stairs to the door of the temple. The champion swords do not deter them. Jeanne watches the massive congregation approach her, her eyes filled with remorse. She raises an arm, about to give her final order. Champions of the faith, protect the sacred temple. Fight to the bitter end. You reach the foot of the stairs as she speaks these words. This is your last chance to intervene.
It's heavy, but oh man. Thank you, God. Save the new believers from bloodshed.
Yeah, this is the best thing we can do.
We're going to help everyone. Let's go. Save them. I'm going to walk over you.
There can never be peace between the Inquisition and the new believers. Sister Jeanne is right. The dispute between them has been going on for years. Neither side will ever yield to the other. Right now, there's only one thing you could do. Rescue as many of them as you can from what is to come. You gesture to your followers hurriedly. Spread out and guide the people away from here, as many as they can. Go, in the name of the younger! The champions' faith obey Jeanne's orders. They get into formation and begin advancing on the new believers, weapons in hand. The unarmed mob recoils in fear, but those in the front row are pushed from behind and driven onto the blades. Blood splatters onto the stairs of the temple. A woman's voice lets out a shrill scream. Panic spreads throughout the mob like wildfire. Chaos fills the minds of women and men. They begin pushing, pulling, dashing, recoiling like frightened animals, and the warriors of the church keep advancing, unrelenting and lethal. I don't like this whenever anyone does this, women and men. You know,
bad. It's ugly, but I mean, oh, Jeanne has been through a lot now. I mean, her sister is is a witch. She saves her. She goes through all of that. The Inquisitor General is bad, and she puts him in prison. There's a revolt, and it's horrific. People are getting crucified. People are getting killed by the thousands or the hundreds or whatever. Like it's terrible. And she has this loyal cohort of Inquisitors, and she's at her wit's end, and she's marching onto these poor, frightened people who are marching on them. And they can't seem to reconcile very, very simple things that like amplify whenever they are pushed. Because in reality, like there is quite a bit of difference between the lots and the lot less. And it seems that the twins they love everyone in the sense of lot or lotless. There are ways to gain order from both of those, and maybe there aren't even lots in the way that there's always a lot, right? That you don't have to like even sort them out, that they will always be there, and it doesn't matter if you refuse them or you accept them, you will always have your lot. And that's why the twins are letting this happen, because like ultimately this is not rejecting them, and it's sad. Of course, they definitely feel a lot of sorrow for what's happening now. But I get it. It's terrible, but it must happen. So let's go ahead.
Here's the thing: two different conceptions of the world can, in fact, exist at once and have neither be in violation of the twins. And when this sort of thing, it's the question of the letter of the law is important, but so is the spirit. And that's why both are considered. And the old believers are doing what they think is right. They believe that the truth was shared and it was shared once. And they're doing everything they can to keep the truth as it was shared, as it has been taught and passed down when it was shared only once. They're trying to keep the fire alive as much as possible. The new believers also believe that the truth was shared once, but that at some point in the past, the fire was extinguished or it was driven underground, and that they are bringing it back into the light. They're trying to bring about the truth once again, given the errors of the past. Both points are true to a certain extent. All right? Both points are true to a certain extent. And both points err in certain regards. However, churches are always unified when there is enough room given for both. if the new reformers had come about probably even a couple hundred years before they did in the current time, and they had remained within the church structure and it had been done incrementally, this wouldn't have happened. Healthy societies do not face revolts. Healthy societies have mechanisms which allow for a sort of circulation, which allow for a circulation of belief, a circulation of understanding, and that's how it is. But unfortunately, every so often that breaks down, and the result of that is always, massive fucking bloodshed in order to grease the wheels of the machines again. That's how it is. So, I don't know. But anyway, massive slaughtering. Your men have reached the edges of the square. They try to guide the new believers down back alley, shouting, "Hey, over here!" But for many of them, it was already too late. Mighty gust of wind rushes over the square. It roars, howls, almost screams, filled with remorse, agony, and wrath. The earth begins to tremble beneath your feet. Before your very eyes, as if though in some terrible nightmare, the roof of the sacred temple begins to shake and the pillars start to sway back and forth. No! The world is turned upside down like a kaleidoscope shaken by a massive hand. For several seconds, everything blends together as you fall flat on your back. Slowly, you come to your senses. You are surrounded by dozens of bodies and chunks of rock. What the? Where the temple at the Silver Tree once stood, there is nothing. The grand, majestic structure is no more. It has been leveled to the ground. Remnants of its walls and roof are scattered across the square. The stairs that once led to it have been ground into gravel. This is a not subtle reference to Christ saying that not one stone will be left standing on top of the other when he talks about the destruction of the second temple. A cloud of dust slowly settles upon the square. After the dust come the leaves, thousands and thousands of leaves shed by the silver tree. They cover the corpses of the dead like a pale white shroud. The entire square glows as the bodies of these yet to be reborn dissolve into the nothingness. There are so many that the light stings your eyes, even through the thick dust that still hangs over it all. Just how many people met their deaths today? Sister Jeanne and her warriors are gone, buried beneath the rocks. The order of the Inquisition in Anizate is finished. You stagger to your feet and go to where you last saw Father Leonard. You soon spot the edge of his once white cassock, pinned by a chunk of broken pillar. It takes all of your strength to roll the heavy stone and drag the abbot out from under the rubble. Leonard is wounded but conscious. He looks around, trying to understand what has happened, then slowly falls to his knee. A loud groan escapes his lips. Blood and tears trickle down Leonard's face, mixing together. The abbot chokes on the dust. His eyes are fixed on the ruins of what was once his temple, the bare branches of the tree piercing the sky like swords. I was wrong. The gods, they wouldn't listen to us. They rejected our faith. What do I do now, Paul? What do I do? My temple, how will we live now? There's no hope left. This is the end. Leonard's words become incoherent, descending into a frantic babble. You speak to the abbot, trying to console him. All is not lost. You manage to save many people. You are not sure he can hear you now, but you cannot wait for him to come to his senses. You have to take the lead soon, so you begin mustering your forces and getting ready to move to the Empire Square. Enormous crowds of people are already on their way there, about to choose the leader of the Anizate Rebellion. The sun slowly begins to set. She dead.
And then the tree ate John.
All right, Bobby. Yeah. We got through the first half of the revolt, and
the bloodbath, absolute bloodbath.
Yep, but we will finish up. Hopefully, we will finish up Sir Brante next week.
What an episode! What an episode, Paul.
Yeah, this has been really fun. I'm really glad we got to do this, and I'm really excited to finish it up next week.
Yeah, and then we're going to plan for the suzerain, and I'll explain to you. And it'll be kind of difficult, but we'll do it.
I've played suzerain before. Awesome. I have played suzerain plenty of times before. We'll be good to go.
I've got an insane way of doing it, but I'll need your help, and it'll kind of be.
We'll have to discuss how we're going to do it.
It'll be a pretty. Yeah.
We did the communist Solemn Providence playthrough here. All right, we're not going to do it next time.
No, man, you would not believe it. I cooked up an absolutely unique way of doing it, and it'll be incredibly fun. It'll be very educational for both of us, and you'll love it. But we'll have to do a little bit of work, not in the sense of like, oh, you'll have to do like tech, but it'll be just like Excel sheets. For specific things, for just like what do you call it? It's scheduling. Yeah, scheduling. It's good, but for now it's a secret. We gotta finish this up, and then we'll talk to you privately, and I'll tell you everything about it.
All right.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for watching,
Thank
boys.
you, Bobby. Thank all of you for coming by, and may your chucks ever be